No censorship. I'm Dan Wootton. This is Outspoken Live, episode number 161. They were warned, they were told, time and again, by Nigel Farage, by many others, that Prevent was not fit for purpose and was putting Brits at risk.
What in God's name are we doing, putting taxpayers' money into organisations like this that have been hijacked by the extreme left? It's time to defund Prevent completely.
But because of their insanely woke agenda, which included investigating Jacob Rees Mogg, 3 little girls were knifed to death by the Islamist terrorist Axel Rudakubana in the Southport Massacre. In my digest next, I explore why the lessons of the terror killing of the star Conservative MP David Amess were ignored and led to more Islamist carnage in the UK. Then, after today's release of a damning report about the case, his devastated and furious but very determined daughter, Katie Amess, speaks out live in what is going to be a very important uncancelled interview. Also coming up on the show today, Meghan Markle axed from the Invictus Games after another PR disaster. We'll tell you what really went on. And we reveal today's greatest Briton and Union Jackass. Then, in the uncancelled aftershow, royal YouTube sensation PDina with me live to reveal why royal servants compared Prince Harry to a character in the iconic British comedy Blackadder. That is quite a story. www.outspoken.live if you want to join the fun on Substack. Now, Greatest Britain, Union Jackass, you get to vote. And you get to choose the winner. Who is the worst in the United Kingdom today? Just pop on to the live chat in YouTube. That's where you can make your choice. The nominees from you via the Dan Wootton Outspoken Club on X are brilliant as always. Nominee 1, Hugo Norton-Taylor, nominated by Karen Hankey. This is, of course, the upper tribunal judge who overturned the decision of a lower tier immigration tribunal and decided that the family of 6 from Gaza should benefit from the resettlement scheme, allowing them to come to the UK on the basis of their Article 8 right to a family life under the European Convention on Human Rights. Nominee 2, nominated by June Moultrie, Kemi Badenoch. When is she going to ask a decent bloody question at PMQs? And let me tell you, it was a hard watch performance today. And nominee 3, Dr. Upton, nominated by Give Archie. And the reason is because this is, of course, a trans doctor who continues to use female changing rooms after an incident with a women nurse who objective and said, I thought I would put my big girl pants on and be brave. This is the Employment Tribunal playing out this week. So there are the 3 nominees. You be the judge. Get voting. Let me know your comments. I will reveal your winner and the Greatest Britain at the end of the show. But now, let's go. So what do you do when those in power are willfully blind to the biggest threat to our way of life? What do you do when the authorities continue to ignore Islamist lone wolf terrorists even after the brutal murder in October 2021 of one of the country's most popular politicians, David Amess, the long-time Conservative MP for Southend West? What happens when 3 little girls are stabbed to death by an Islamist extremist years later because still the system hasn't changed? This is the terrible reality of where we're at in the United Kingdom with the scheme that is meant to quite literally prevent terror attacks, but is not fit for purpose. It has not been fit for purpose for years, and still nothing is done. So I ask you today, how many more of these is it going to take?
Terror incident has indeed taken place here in London today, in this area of London.
Iraqi asylum seeker Ahmed Hassan, he had pretended to engage with an anti-terrorism prevent scheme.
Whitehall sources are suggesting that 2 members of the public have died in that terror incident at London Bridge.
He was under the MAPA arrangements, the multi-agency public protection arrangements, and there was an extensive list of licence conditions for this individual. To the best of my knowledge as I stand here today, he was complying with those conditions.
2 people were stabbed in Streatham High Road, Lambeth.
The individual was under active police surveillance at the time of the incident.
Counter-terrorism policing can now confirm that the stabbing incident that happened in Reading last night has now been declared a terrorist incident.
Well, let's return now to the news that the suspect thought to be behind the terror attack was known to MI5.
The MP David Amess has died as a result of the injuries received in that stabbing attack just after midday today at his constituency offices in Leigh-on-Sea. The suspect arrested on suspicion of murdering Sir David Amess had previously been referred to the Prevent Counter-Extremism programme.
Yet after every one of these terrorist atrocities, the usual game of diversion and distraction begins. So in the case of David Amess, politicians and the MSM decided to debate keyboard warriors, being nasty to MPs on social media. And in the more recent case of the Southport Massacre, apparently some politicians think Amazon is to blame because they sell knives, and then others are actually going around suggesting the solution is removing blades from all kitchen utensils. Anything to discuss the real issue. And that real issue is that Islamist terrorists operating within the UK are far and away what the authorities and especially the Prevent scheme should be focusing on. It is one of the biggest outrages in modern Britain that the tiny number of us who have made this a passion project and have spoken about this for years have been derided as far-right or Islamophobic. But as regular viewers know, this has been an obsession for me for all of those years because I knew the MSM and our political class were ignoring the elephant in the room. So this was my response after that shocking terror attack that killed David Amess.
Of the political and media establishment steadfastly continue to look away from the very real threat of Islamist extremism, despite police publicly declaring that it's the likely motivation behind the brutal killing of Sir David Amess. There are incredibly important issues that must be tackled to avoid bedroom jihadis from attacking again. Crucially, the role of Prevent, the programme meant to stop prospective radicals before they attack. Too many times, Prevent, which is currently a voluntary scheme, has failed. It is believed Ali Harbi Ali, who has been arrested over the stabbing and continues to be questioned by cops, had been previously referred to this programme at 17 by a teacher, but not considered to be at the highest risk of radicalisation. The Times newspaper revealed today the programme should be overhauled because it is currently too soft on intervention, with MI5 and counter-terrorism police given a greater say.
And I wouldn't stop talking about this issue when I was on GB News, including after the release of the Shawcross review, which again did not lead to the significant change required.
In fact, its findings are going to make the woke brigade wince. But that doesn't matter, because this report will save lives. Prevent has failed to do that on numerous occasions, including in the horrific terror attack that killed David Amess. Ali Harbi Ali, the man given a whole life sentence for slaying the Tory MP in October, was referred to Prevent but managed to game the system after a sole meeting. In fact, 6 of the 11 most notable recent terror attacks in the UK were carried out by people who had already been referred to Prevent.
Now, I went on to say that we had to fight to change the system now. There wasn't a moment to delay because more people would die. And what happened in Southport? I have to give credit for the man fighting this lonely battle alongside me at GB News, my former colleague Nigel Farage, now the leader of Reform UK and the country's most influential politician.
Yes, Prevent, in one of their reports, suggest that programmes like Yes Minister, that programmes like The Thick of It, that works of literature such as the complete works of Shakespeare, the Canterbury Tales, films like The Dam Busters, films like Zulu, and indeed Michael Portillo's railway programmes, yes, they are all in danger of encouraging far-right sympathies. And apparently, when these programmes come up, there are like captions that appear online using the name Nigel Farage, and the report links me with Oswald Mosley. It's quite utterly extraordinary. What in God's name are we doing, putting taxpayers' money into organisations like this that have been hijacked by the extreme left? It's time to defund Prevent completely.
And it's no surprise, given Nigel's public position after the Southport attack, that he was, well, despondent and furious.
Maybe you could forgive it if it was just this one time, but it's not, because a very similar thing happened, of course, when it came to the murder of that very popular Conservative Member of Parliament, David Amess. Is this just part, once again, of broken Britain, where the institutions simply don't work and need radical reform? Is there something that can be done to save it? I don't know, but I just can't even begin to imagine how some of those parents must feel if they're watching the news tonight and seeing the total failings of an organisation set up to try and prevent these sort of appalling murders.
You get used to.
Well, today, after a valiant and brave campaign, David Amess's brave daughter, Katie Amess, has forced action. Finally, the government has been forced to release a review revealing the Prevent failures that led to her father's killing by an ISIS supporter, despite the fact he had been reported to Prevent.
Mr Ali was referred to Prevent in 2014 by his school after his teachers identified a change in his behaviour. Home Office Minister Dan Jarvis told the House of Commons that failures in dealing with his case led to it being exited too soon.
The reviewer found that from the material reviewed, the assessment in terms of the perpetrator's vulnerabilities was problematic, and this ultimately led to questionable decision-making and suboptimal handling of the case during the time he was engaged with Prevent and Channel. It identified that the vulnerability assessment framework was not followed, with the perpetrator's symptoms being prioritised over addressing the underlying causes of his vulnerabilities. The reviewer ultimately found that while Prevent policy and guidance at the time was mostly followed, the case was exited from Prevent too quickly.
It's disgusting that action has taken so long, but Katie Amess isn't finished yet. Her dad's successor, Anna Firth, has today asked the Prime Minister to consider including the murder of Sir David in the public inquiry into the Southport killings. She posted on X, "This is plainly in the public interest, given the striking similarities and multiple failings of the Prevent programme. Please do the right thing, Keir Starmer." And Katie herself will not let Starmer and the Home Secretary Yvette Cooper get away with their current inertia. She posted to them a full inquiry. No ifs, no buts, no excuses. Keep in mind, I had seen this document in March 2024 and wasn't allowed to say what was in it. Breach of contract would lead to prison or fines of tens of thousands. It's only been released today as Southport had the PLR released immediately, so they were forced to release ours. Had Southport not happened, this document would never have seen the light of day. Essex Police, I will be dealing with you next. You don't get to investigate yourselves and find yourselves not guilty. Not on my watch. #justice or Sir David. And I'm delighted to say Katie Amess joins me now for the Uncancelled interview. Katie, so wonderful to have you today. I can only imagine that it must be an odd one. You've known about the contents of this report. You haven't been able to speak about them. Finally, it's public. I'm so angry. I can only imagine the mix of emotions that you must experience.
Well, Dan, you said that I'm not finished. Let me tell you, I haven't even started yet. Watching that montage that you put together, my blood was boiling. This is stupidity beyond belief. It is absolute incompetence, and I will not stand for it. I saw that report in March 2024. As you read out in the tweet, was made to sign a contract that I could not possibly tell anybody what was in it, or I'd go to prison or be fined tens of thousands of pounds. Suddenly Southport happens, and immediately, because of the riots and because of the public outrage, their Prevent Learning Review is released and a full inquiry is announced. So that had me thinking, well, what's in my dad's Prevent Learning report that we can't possibly have seen the light of day? So I forced Yvette Cooper to meet with me, and I said, this is not acceptable. You cannot pick and choose who you are going to help. And this Prevent Learning Review, may I add, there are some differences in the one that you guys are seeing today to the one that I saw, and those differences are disappointing, to say the least. And I want to know what took them 3.5 years to have it released and why I'm still not being given an inquiry. This learning review, by the way, did not interview one person to do with the perpetrator. It simply looked at emails and paper trails. That is not an investigation. That is the government's way of trying to throw people off the scent and gaslight us into thinking that they've done something to help us when actually they haven't.
God, so can you say what has been left out? And are there redactions to protect people?
There's redactions to protect people, but there's also watering down, and I can't tell you what has been left out because I was made to sign the contract to say that I won't tell you. So I am pleased that everybody can see the utter stupidity that I have been talking about, but how far does that get me? Unless they do an inquiry, this is just a piece of paper to me. I need accountability and I need answers. I have knocked on every single door. I tried to take them through the courts. I asked the Conservative government. I've asked the Labour government. Yvette Cooper, in my last meeting with her, was unable to confirm an inquiry because she was not the Home Secretary at the time of the attacks. What's that got to do with anything? Numerous inquiries are launched into instances where that person is not the Home Secretary at the time of the instance. The infected blood scandal, the post office scandal, the list goes on. They cannot pick and choose who they're going to help. What about all the other people that Prevent failed? That's father wasn't an MP. They don't have a platform to stand on like I do. So I'm not just going to let them, because of the public outrage, help the people in Southport. They should help everybody. And had I have been listened to, and you as well, I might add, 3.5 years ago, perhaps we wouldn't be sitting here today having lost more innocent people. And it is utterly heartbreaking and distressing, and it is disgusting in 2025 that we are having to have this conversation.
It really is, because in the case of the terrorist, the ISIS fanatic who killed your father in that terror attack, what we learned today is that he was referred to Prevent. There was a discussion, but it never was taken further, which just feels like the most astonishing failure. What can you pinpoint? I know obviously you have had much more time to digest this report. What can you pinpoint as the reasons why that happened, Katie?
Well, it's failing after failing and incompetency after incompetency. The public, in all of the cases where Prevent has failed, are doing their job. They are reporting these people. It is the people working for Prevent that are failing. They did not make, there's no rationale into the decisions that they made. It's not been made explicit as to why some things were deemed more of a threat than others. The record keeping was ridiculous. Due to an admin error, it was never passed on to somebody else so that they could do the follow-up that was needed. There was a complete blurring of responsibilities between what the police should be doing, Prevent should be doing. They took a meeting with him where they took him out for a cup of coffee. He said, I'm not a terrorist. He said exactly what they wanted him to hear, and then they left him alone. He had 6 years to plan this attack, and he laughs at us. He said in court, well, you just tell them what they want to hear and then they leave you alone. What kind of a system is that to foil potential terrorists? And the lack of accountability and the fact that nobody wants to help me get this inquiry launched, what kind of a message does that send to other potential terrorists that are sitting here thinking, they won't even investigate the death of an MP of 40 years? It's not going to foil any attacks. It's showing that we're weak and we're vulnerable and we do not follow up on our failings. So I would think it would be in the government interest to do an inquiry, because my father was one of them for 40 years. And it's an absolute slap in the face how we have been treated. And I'm not going to stand for it, and I'm not going to go away.
So this letter from your dad's successor, Anna Firth, wrote, the Southport stabbings were the most atrocious, heinous crime, but so too was the brutal murder of Sir David Amess, a serving member of Parliament. Both have left behind grieving, heartbroken families who have been equally failed by the Prevent programme. Publishing the Prevent Learning Review into Sir David's death, whilst welcome, is not sufficient. Yet I have seen briefing from the government today, Katie, to Sly News, suggesting they have ruled out a public inquiry. Do you want to speak directly to Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper and explain why it's so important that they reverse that decision?
Oh, I will be speaking to them. It is absolutely absurd that they can launch an inquiry immediately into one attack and not another. What are they hiding? What is going to come out in this inquiry that they do not want seeing the light of day? It's going to be an embarrassment for them, and it's going to be something that they don't want to have to discuss. But how can you look at yourself in the mirror at night? How can you claim that you're my dad's friend if you are actively keeping his family from getting the answers that they deserve? And the inquiry, it needs to look into the background of the guy. What was known, maybe MI5 knew stuff about him. We don't know. We're not being allowed to know. It needs to look at the role of Essex Police, the effectiveness of Prevent, and it needs to look at the way that we need to reform this system called Prevent, which I actually call Allow. Going on to Essex Police, I launched a complaint with them on the 26th of December. It's taken them 7 weeks for the IOPC to now refer me back to Essex Police. So Essex Police will be doing their own investigation into themselves. What kind of utter stupidity is that? They keep releasing these canned responses as to why they aren't at fault here. So they're obviously not going to turn around and say, actually, just kidding, we were at fault. We know what the answer of that investigation is going to be. There was a threat made to my father the night before. They keep saying that it was not related. I know it wasn't related. You know I'm not saying it was related. What I'm saying is that you needed to provide protection at his surgery the next day. They said that they acted appropriately because they sent an unmarked police car past our house the night before. What on earth do they think an unmarked police car, what kind of attack is that going to foil? They should have sent protection to my dad's surgery the next day. The guy that did it admitted that he went to other constituency surgeries with other MPs, saw police presence and turned around. Why did those other MPs have the courtesy of having police protection when there wasn't even an active threat? Why was my dad not given protection? We had a threat. My dad would still be here today if Essex Police had have got off their behinds and actually done something. So I don't accept these cam responses, and I won't be having you investigate yourself. I emailed Yvette Cooper's office yesterday and I said, you will sit in on the meetings with me and Essex Police so that you can see the stupidity that I am dealing with. Because right now they think they've got away with it, but I can tell you they have not got away with it, and I have not even begun with the police.
And have you heard from the Home Secretary since the release of the report?
No.
Okay. Of course, one of those... Sorry,
Sorry, she said that we would be in touch when we had our last interview where she was telling me that she couldn't launch an inquiry. Yeah, we will be in touch, and I'm not going to disappear. So I need to get this inquiry. They want me to get tired and they want me to disappear and to give up. But I'm my father's daughter and I'm not going to give up.
Yes, I love that. He would be so proud of that response. What about Starmer? What has been your communication with him?
He wanted to meet my mum, I think it was yesterday. I don't need meetings with these people. I need a yes or a no. Are you doing the inquiry? You can try and appease me and bamboozle me and talk all this jargon that nobody cares about. Are you doing an inquiry, yes or no? Your words mean nothing to me. Your condolences mean nothing if you are actively preventing me from getting the answers that my father deserves.
And how is your mum coping with this, Katie?
After it happened to my dad, my mum had a stroke because of the stress. And so she is trying to recover from the stroke and the fallout of all of this. And she feels absolutely heartbroken and disappointed in the thought that my father worked day in, day out for 40 years for this country that he loved and for the people that he loved. The thousands of messages of support that I have had telling me how wonderful my dad was and what a great MP he was and how there will never be anybody else like him. That's giving us some form of comfort compared to the closed doors for his colleagues and his friends. So the support of the public is definitely installing our faith in humanity. And now it's the people that work for the public who seem to have forgotten that. We elect these people, our taxes pay their bills. They need to get their fingers out and get on this because we're not going to give up. We will get answers eventually. Even if it takes me the rest of my life, I will get these answers. And also everybody else that Prevent failed, not just my family. I want to help other people as well.
And because there are many, of course, the Park attack, the London Bridge attack, all very similar. Katie, can I just ask about the threat that your father received the night before? Are you convinced it isn't connected? And what do you know about that threat? And did he feel worried going into that constituency surgery?
Well, from what I understand, it wasn't connected. That's what I've been told. I believe that my brother phoned my father to tell him there's been a threat. And my father said, call the police. So my dad had full faith in the fact that the police would protect him. And I just pray to God that when it happened to my dad, he wasn't thinking that the police were going to turn up and protect him still. Because they keep saying, you know, these heroic police officers that were on the scene, these unmarked police officers, that was after he was attacked. You don't get an award for heroicism if you turn up after the fact. They weren't sent there by the police. They just happened to be in the local area. So my father was left high and dry. He was left out to hang. And somebody needs to take accountability for that.
Yeah, indeed. And you don't know for sure who that threat was the night before, who it came from.
They said that somebody was arrested and that it was unrelated. But the other thing, Dan, is there were threats to me during the trial. Somebody came to a house 2 doors along. My house was yellow and there was a house 2 doors along that was yellow. Somebody came to that house, picked up a metal pole, a broom, a brick, and was banging on the window, screaming for me to come out. The occupants of the house said, you've got the wrong house. She doesn't live here. Their children were very distressed. They said, leave us alone. We're calling the police. They called Essex Police and then phoned us to say, don't go outside. There's been a threat. The police are on their way. I never, ever ever heard from Essex Police. I followed up with them time and time again. I said, I need protection. You need to tell me who this was. When I eventually got hold of somebody, they said, we're sorry if you feel let down. I said, I don't feel let down. I was let down. There was a person outside threatening me and you didn't even bother to tell me. They told me that somebody had been arrested. They couldn't tell me who, that he was in police custody, and that they would be updating me when he was released. To this day, I have no idea who that was. And they outright refused anybody to protect me in that instance. So nothing was learned, nothing had changed. My mum had to leave that house in the end because of security protection. The police don't care about us. My dad could not stand the police. He was a thorn in their side because he called them out for these incompetencies. And they didn't honour him in his life, and they're certainly not honouring him in his death. So I'd like to know who that was that threatened me, and I'd like to see what changes they claim have been made since then, because I'm probably not safe walking around the street in Southend. Who was that person that came to try and get me? They don't care.
It's a litany of errors. You have been so let down. Do you agree with Nigel Farage that a woke ideology has infected Prevent? Because it does seem extraordinary that they were spending time investigating the likes of Jacob Rees Mogg and Douglas Murray.
I mean, watching that list of literature that they deemed as controversial, what the hell are they talking about? That's an embarrassment. What are you talking about? They are barking up the wrong tree. They are not paying attention to the threats that are being reported by the public, these lone terrorists that are radicalizing themselves because they want to deflect and deal with something that's easier for them to handle, because they want to pick on people that they won't be seen as controversial to follow. So I think he's onto something there, and I wish somebody had listened to him when this happened to my father, and listened to you and listened to me, so that we wouldn't be sitting here time and time again talking about the same failings.
And how terrible, Katie, that we had a Conservative government too. There was an opportunity for this Conservative government to do something, a government that was so devastated by the loss of your dad, that feels really shocking to me.
Well, Rishi Sunak and James Cleverly, they refused to help me. They wouldn't take meetings. James Cleverly said he's not helping me and he's not changing his mind. I'd like to know why. I haven't heard from either of them since I started doing my campaign to say, sorry, there's been a misunderstanding. You know, we did want to help you, but because of X, Y, and Z, we couldn't help you. They just going about their day like nothing happened. Why did they not want this report out, this inquiry to be done? What is in it that's being hidden? Nobody wants to touch this with a barge pole. Neither government does. And so if I had £1 million, I would just take it through the court, but I don't. And I don't have offers to do it pro bono. I take all of them to court, but I don't have the funds for that. So all I can do is rely on the public to help me get my message out there. I tried to start a petition on January the 22nd on the government petition website. If you get to a certain amount of signatures, they have to debate it in Parliament. I've been chasing it up because it says, you know, in a few days it will be active. That was January 22nd. They tell me there's a backlog and in a few weeks it will be active. So when that goes live, perhaps you and I can talk again and we can encourage the public to sign it. And I would also love people to write to their members of Parliament and to write to the Home Office supporting my call for an inquiry, because we, the public, can make changes if we all pull together. The government can't stonewall us forever. And if we pull together, this is a great nation. It was a great nation. It could still be a great nation. But we have to work together. And I think the public are sick and tired of the way that these politicians are behaving. We have had enough, and it's time to make change.
Indeed it is. Indeed it is. I couldn't agree more. Just finally, Katie, let's talk about your dad. What would he have thought about the current state of the country?
Oh, he would be massively disappointed. He loved this country. He worked for 40 years. He was so proud of this country, and he absolutely loved his constituents. He loved going out and about and meeting people, which is why the guy picked on him, because my dad was so eager to meet with people because he loved them so much. My dad would feel extremely let down. He'd be absolutely outraged at the treatment that we as his family are still receiving, and all of this wokeness and trying to be politically correct. He would see through all of it. He would stand up for what is right, because he has to look himself in the mirror every night and know, as a God-fearing man, that he had done the right thing. I think all of these other politicians need to ask if they can do the same.
Well, look, Katie, I think you're incredible. I think your dad would be so proud of what you're doing. I've been on this one for years. I'm going to stay on this. Let's do it together. You've got so much support from the public, from outspoken viewers. I hope in the independent media we can play more of a role to try and force this change. And so I love the fact you're just at the start of this. Let's keep talking, and we're not going to forget it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dan.
What a brilliant, incredible woman. Okay, coming up, PDina is on board for the latest in the Invictus Games, which has turned into an absolute calamity. Really has. The biggest PR disaster yet. PDina, big revelations revealing that Meghan Markle was forced to leave the games. She's going to reveal all in just 1 minute. It's a change of pace, but I think we need that today, so stand by. But first, you know how often I talk about the need for free speech to be protected online. And I've been increasingly thinking of the need for personal protection from snoopers, bad actors, and hackers. And I'm delighted to tell you I have now found the fail-safe solution. But what's more, this VPN, or virtual private network, to use the full term, is also a life changer when it comes to providing you entertainment and information from anywhere in the world. So let me introduce you to Surfshark, an incredible and easy to use service that encrypts all your internet traffic, meaning your online activities stay safe so you can shop, stream, browse, and conduct your banking online in complete privacy. But the benefits of Surfshark actually go way beyond keeping you safe online. It allows you to access your favorite entertainment and news shows and channels from international streaming services like Hulu, iPlayer, HBO Max, and Peacock. Or if you have a favorite show that is blocked on your local version of Netflix, Amazon Prime, or Disney Plus, within seconds, you can be watching as if you're in another country. It's so cool. Trust me. If you're traveling for work or on holiday, you can also get all your favorite content from home, including sports. This is also an insurance policy, by the way, against the creeping censorship that we're seeing in lots of countries like France, which has blocked Rumble for many months now. Surfshark allows you to watch anything, anytime, anywhere. It is true freedom, which I am here for. And a VPN can save you money too, because you can get the best deals from websites that change their prices depending on where you're buying from. There are other benefits too. You can use Surfshark on unlimited devices. Great for me with all of mine. But also, it means your entire household can stay safe with just one subscription. With over 3,200 servers in over 100 countries, there's a world of choice at your fingertips with 24/7 customer service if this is your first time using a VPN. So go to surfshark.com/outspoken for an extra 4 months of Surfshark at an unbeatable price. What's more, Surfshark is so confident they're the best VPN in the world that you can give it a try for a full 30 days. And if you're not entirely satisfied, you will get your money back. So surfshark.com/outspoken for an extra 4 months of Surfshark at an unbeatable price. But now, back to the show. Breaking right now, Meghan Markle has been forced to leave the Invictus Games, axed by Prince Harry after another PR disaster. The reasons behind this are extraordinary. It shows just how much tension has been created by this bizarre PR display that we have seen over the past 4 days. But hilariously, Harry gave Meghan, his wife, quite a symbolic send-off by encouraging herself to throw her down a snow slope. Watch.
Handles there.
No.
Okay, let me know when we're clear on 4.
And you just keep your body weight back?
Yeah, body weight back, bum up, and go. 3, 2.
No, I really don't want to do it.
No,
Okay.
come on, you'll be
absolutely
fine. Okay.
You'll be fine.
Oh
You'll be fine. 3, 2, 1, go. Here we go.
Keep your feet up.
Feet up, feet up, feet up.
Genuinely. Royal YouTube sensation PDina is with me. PDina, that was odd. Harry was laughing demonically. It was like, get this woman down this sled and out of these Invictus Games, because she's turned them into a laughingstock internationally.
Absolutely. It really was one of those moments where you watch her going down the hill and you're like, yes, be gone with you. Go, go. And there was something gratifying about seeing that, because a lot of people did not want her to be there. And to see that happen in a fun way, but also I think it was a release for Harry as well, to see her go down the hill and to kind of be in charge for a moment, because usually he's not the one in charge. He's always usually the one being, pushed around, told what to do. And here he had a moment where he could, lightheartedly say, okay, go. Like, he wasn't like he was caring and, oh, honey, it's going to be okay. Oh, like really comforting her. But it was like, it was a joke. It was fun. Okay, go, and laughing. I thought it was hilarious.
PDina, can we just be honest about this, though? She has been axed. This was not the plan. She was absolutely loving all of the attention, but the problem is no one wanted her there.
Yeah, no one wanted her there. Reports were coming out even before the games that they did not want her there, because usually the attention is taken away from, the veterans. And Meghan is there to soak up the limelight. There was a lot of tension from what I heard behind the scenes, that it would have been best had Harry just kept her at home. And, Meghan's going to do what she's going to do. She used it for her moment, for her new social media comeback. And that's what it is about for her. And people can see through that. I mean, of course, people are going to be cordial. They're going to be, very nice in front of her. But there is a lot behind the scenes that you don't see and hear about. And that is what I heard about her being told to leave. There were issues with the sponsors, and that they did not want her there. There was a big blow up around it. And eventually she just ended up leaving. And I think because it was so abrupt, it wasn't planned. Because if you look at the fact that she did give a speech prior to the games at the opening ceremony, it doesn't make sense that you would just leave and not say goodbye or say, tomorrow's my last day, because that's the more appropriate thing to do, to let people know. But she didn't. And it was just all of a sudden she's leaving, she's gone. And, the PR spin was that, this was always planned. I would beg to differ that it was not planned, and that something around the sponsors, the things that I heard was the actual truth, that no, things had to change. They wanted her gone.
There was absolutely no way this was planned, PDina, because Meghan had planned to use this event as the big launch of her Instagram account, her new social media personality. And when she was giving that speech on stage, she never said, oh, I'm just here for a few days, then I'm going back to see the kids and you're going to get the husband for the rest of the time. So it just didn't work. And this is the problem at the moment. Everything she touches turns toxic. And we had the briefing to the Daily Mail from the Invictus insiders saying she's destroying this, the contestants are being overshadowed, it's far too woke. And the problem is that Harry, and I did always say this, and you know I'm no fan of Prince Harry, but I did always say, PDina, the one legacy he had was the Invictus Games. It was pretty much the only thing in his life that he had made a success. And now he is letting his wife, who he can't even stand, I mean, we see his face when he thinks the cameras aren't on. We hear about the fights that they have behind the scenes, but he's still allowed Meghan to turn this into the Markle show. It shows such terrible judgment on his part.
Absolutely. And you know, you have to look at everything that has happened to Harry up to now. It's not just the Invictus Games. It's the things with his family, his friends, his the things around the Royal Foundation, his connections to his country. He has lost so much. And you can't tell me that Meghan coming in and now overtaking everything around Invictus is going to put Harry in a good space. It's going to break him. This is the last straw, because this is, like you said, the one thing that he had. And now Meghan is making it about her. And, you know, he's seeing other people talk about it behind the scenes, and this must be weighing heavily on him. It is so sad, because if you're a man, you're not going to allow yourself to be taken over by a woman with everything. I mean, you look at every single thing. Even these children cannot even be in his country, around his family. There is no ownership that Harry has around his own life. This was the one thing. This is the breaking point. And I think this is why you saw so much PDA on Meghan's part, because she was trying to overtake the way he's feeling. And the one thing I noticed around also the PDA, not once did Harry ever initiate any of the PDA. It was always initiated by Meghan. That right there is a sign that shows you it was not, you know, reciprocated. This was one-sided. And Harry is letting it show. He probably doesn't want it to show, but, you know, his feelings are his feelings. You know, he's not trying to cover up like Meghan is. So he's going to just do the natural thing. And the natural thing we can see is that he really isn't happy. This is his breaking point, I believe.
The crazy thing is, though, PDina, given they are so aware of how the cameras are on them at virtually every moment, they can only play the game for so long, especially Harry. But we also saw those moments when Meghan was literally yelling at him when there was the possibility of the cameras being on. So you can only imagine what it's like when they are in private.
Yeah, so, you know, there's a way you can contain it a little bit, but when no one's watching, when you are completely secluded, it is a fury that I can only imagine. Because we have to remember, there are people that have been traumatized by this woman and the way she has managed to work with her past employees that have been completely broken, stressed. I mean, this woman knows how to do some harm. And we can see that, yeah, behind the scenes, it is explosive. This is a way they try to contain it. But, you know, at some point, she always breaks. I think there was a moment when even when she was looking at someone, not knowing the cameras were on her, she had like this stare in her eye. And then when she looked up, she was like immediately started smiling because she knew she let her face drop. And I can imagine that there's this constant trying to be on. And at some moment, your feelings overtake you and the real you ends up coming out. That right there it was just a peek into who she is. That was very enlightening to see the walls fall.
And the performance, PDina, on the moments when they know they're in the spotlight, the performance is so over the top that actually it has the opposite effect of what they believe it does. So I want to show you what happened when Harry was sort of making a joke on stage about Meghan singing, and just look at her over the top responses.
Now she's going to sing. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you,
And then,
No, I'm not singing.
I mean, it's so disingenuous. Michael Bublé says to her, "Oh, are you gonna sing?" No, I'm not singing. I mean, oh, it's really difficult to watch.
It's like fingernails going down a chalkboard. It's like, woman, calm down. I mean, she's like this giddy teenager. And I think she's so consumed with how people see her. She's overcompensating. And it does the opposite effect. It just makes her look like a joke. It makes her seem so animated and not real. And people can feed into that. People see it. I mean, you just look at what the president said about this woman on a world stage. You must be inside your head just pulling your hair out. I can't imagine having to put that kind of stress on me. And I guess how she deals with it is she overcompensates and is just overly excited. It's too much. And I loved in that last part where she was coming in from being on the stage, how Harry just kind of just dropped her arm and walked off. You know, he didn't wait for her. He was just like, okay, I'm done. I mean, it was a very quick second, but I thought that was very telling too.
Yeah, totally. And by the way, without wanting to be rude, PDina, he is quite literally losing his hair over it. If there was a hair transplant back in 2016, 2017, the stress has caused it all to go. One thing I picked up on that he is hating is Meghan's new love of Instagram. You can see how quickly he turns the moment the camera is up in his face. And Paula M, one of your friends, PDina, and a fellow royal YouTuber, has actually put together these brilliant pictures of those moments, but overlaid it with the voices of Will and Jada Pinkett Smith when they were going through a very similar breakdown in their marriage over the way that Jada was using Will for social media clout. It's really worth watching.
I would say don't just start filming me without asking me.
Oh my goodness.
If you could film me.
Sam, come help us again, please. I'm still dealing with foolishness.
Because she don't just.
Would you say that she helped us heal the hurts that we caused between one another?
My social media presence is my bread and butter, okay? So you can't just use me for social media and not, don't just start. I'm standing.
I mean, the parallels, PDina, between these two. And what did we learn about these two, PDina? It had been a marriage of convenience, of professionalism for many, many years.
Yes, that's very telling, isn't it? It's almost like we can see what's happening based on what has happened with Will and Jada. We can see what is actually happening with Harry and Meghan right now. We're not fooled by it at all. I just find it so interesting to see it play over again with now the royals, because you have to think Harry is not one to want to be in front, with the camera always on him. And when your significant other, your spouse, is constantly trying to use you in that way, that has to get to you. Harry is trying to save face in public, but I think even, he can't sustain it much longer and is going to continue to really show where he's not happy, where he's just dissatisfied by things. It's a human nature to want to express yourself that way. And I think that's what he's doing. He's letting his frustrations kind of peek through, although he knows he shouldn't. I heard that their PR rep said to, try to, make it look good for the cameras. But, there's only so much you can do, especially when you don't really want to be in front of the cameras like that. It's so telling about the relationship behind the scenes.
Goodness me, it is. It really is. And there were so many moments where the real Meghan came through. And this is why, if you were advising her, actually, it was necessary to say, just go home, because there's so many. And this one overnight was when one of the competitors gave Meghan a bracelet. But if you have a look at this, most people, and certainly Harry, PDina, would just put the bracelet on But she was clearly so grossed out by it, she just couldn't bring herself to do it. Watch. And so you see, there's the moment they go in for the hug, and she does the very fake over the top thing. But then she's just like, oh no, I don't really want this. And she doesn't put it on. And during this exchange, Harry says, yeah, we're really real. But that's the problem, isn't it? We are now seeing the real side of them.
Yeah. It is so telling to see people kind of just lapse in who they, who they want you to see. And this is what I'm talking about. Meghan cannot fool anybody because who you are is who you are. The camera picks up everything. And the fact that you could not even put on this bracelet for people, for her, the woman who gave this to you, as a nice gesture to show, oh, I'm going to wear this. That just shows you the disdain that she has for people in general. She doesn't care that she's maybe offending this person. She's going to make it look good, for the cameras. But that you can't even be cordial enough to put on the bracelet for the woman tells you you do not really have a good bone in your body to be even basically kind to people. I mean, what difference would it have made for you just to put the bracelet on? That's the level of disingenuous behavior that we're talking about. She can't even do something basic for someone to show that, she's a good person. And that's just very telling. And it's also a way for us to validate the things that we see about her. It's so sad, but I think people are waking up to it. And maybe even that woman herself, after seeing that, thought, well, why wouldn't she put it on? I mean, come on. It doesn't make sense that she would do that. But hey, that's what we're dealing with.
And the problem is that Harry, and actually I want to show you this tweet from our friend According to Taz, because I think she makes a really good point, PDina. She writes, geez, he's really struggling to fake it. And it looks like she is totally bollocking him for it as well, ruining their brand of togetherness. I'd almost feel sorry for him, but then I remember our beautiful and wonderful late queen. So nah, not even a tiny violin for him. And that's the issue, isn't it? We are all watching this disintegrate, watching it go down the pan, watching Harry's legacy of the Invictus Games be destroyed. Yet at the same time, I've got no sympathy. Seriously, not one iota.
Yeah, I always talk on my channel about learning, and it's a way to improve yourself. When you know better, you do better. And I think for Harry, no one's really going to feel sorry for him, because at some point you have to wake up to what has happened. You have to own it and just say, I messed up. But it was very revealing when he spoke at the Deal Book Summit, where he talked about people are always waiting for this marriage to break down, and then they wait, then nothing happens. I think he's trying to outshine people to show them that, oh, all is well, all is well. He's not willing to admit to himself that this was a failure. And I think the sooner he wakes up to that, the sooner he can pick up the pieces and get on with his life. But until he does that, if he keeps suppressing the obvious, that this is a disaster, it will continue to be a disaster. You just keep going and trying to make it look good. Your life is never going to improve. If you want to stay in that state, you're going to live in misery until you wake up and realize and learn something. Learn something, Harry, and just recognize you messed up. This can't be good for you, because you're going to keep dropping. Your face is going to keep dropping. People are going to keep seeing you in these real moments that you don't want them to see. And it's just for us a way to sit back, eat our popcorn and say, oh, okay, you're going to keep trying to cover it up. Oh, okay, let me watch the next thing you do. That's all it's going to be. It's never going to get better. It is going downhill further and further for you from here. It is never going to go back up. There's too much of a heavy lift to try to even make up for all the bad that has happened. You are going to have to work so hard to overcome everything that has happened that Superman can't even do that. I'm sorry. You have lost your Superman powers. You are not even a prince. You really have no value in America. It's over for you. Wake up, learn something, and then you can move on. That's what I say.
And I mean, as the Royal Grift pointed out on X, all of the trends are totally against these guys. PDina. Meghan Markle exposed. Meghan Markle is the problem. The Princess of Wales, which is going to be a dagger to the heart for her. Meghan Markle is a narcissist. Harry and Meghan ruined Invictus. And what's so fascinating about that is that we know the Sussex squad are on call, but even their army of bots and their usual tactics has been unable to manipulate social media in the way that they usually do, because this is just so bad.
Yeah. I mean, the Sussex squad, I mean, you can't have enough people to overcome anything. I think even the Sussex squad are waking up to what has happened. They're not really able to be effective with what they're trying to do. That people are really waking up to the reality of what is happening, and they too can't even try to make it work. And I think not even calling out the Sussex squad and trying to, make it look good shows that you are, working and conniving with these bad actors.
Well, I mean,
so,
PDina,
this kind of behavior doesn't overcome.
Well, no, of course not, because PDina, Peace Adatoro was there. And she wasn't just there, she was sitting right behind Meghan in the stands. Do not tell me that is a coincidence. The same woman who has been pictured with Prince Harry, the same woman who has been pictured with Chris Shipp, the same woman who has been pictured with Omid Scobie, and the red carpet was rolled out for her, first in Nigeria and now in Vancouver. So do not try and tell me that Harry and Meghan do not work with and encourage these Sussex squad trolls.
That's exactly right, because usually you can tell by who's sitting behind them. Usually it's their security. The people that sit behind them are vetted people. These are people that they know and want to be, behind them because of their security or whatever. So it's a clear validation of the approval of their actions. This is disgusting that you have these kind of people representing you, people that you are willing to be seen with in your space. You are condoning these things. And it's like what I said before about Harry. If you're not willing to look, this is wrong, call it out, and you're conniving with this kind of behavior, you are going to always get pushback, because people will always see through you. I mean, look, we live in social media age right now, and people are calling it out everywhere. This is the new norm for you. You can't suppress this PR, because people are going to come out and speak out against you on all these levels, these platforms. You cannot control this. So just wake up and understand that you will never overcome this nastiness that you are trying to put out there to get your celebrity or your good PR, or to really make it and be whatever it is that you think you're going to become. It is not going to happen. The sooner you wake up and realize, the better for you, because you're just putting yourself in disaster after disaster after disaster. It just does not go better for you from this point on. It's just so entertaining for me. I mean, just to watch it with my popcorn, because I just can't understand how you can even condone this. It is ridiculous. Keep trying, Meghan and Harry.
Keep trying. I've got to show you this picture because, again, I don't want to be mean, PDina. You know I'm not the one. I never talk about appearance, okay? That's not really my thing.
Do I. Yeah.
But the reason I'm showing you is just because people are saying times are tough for Meghan at the moment. She is feeling the strain. That's just why I'm showing you, PDina.
Yeah. Well, you mean
Do you
with her
agree?
age? Are you talking about? Like, it just looks like she.
Yeah.
Well, I think for one, I think she's lost a lot of weight, right? I think that is one way to show signs of aging. And I think the stress is part of that as well. I just think that's what happens.
I
And
mean,
when you don't have,
happiness sometimes does translate. She's had a very stressful period, I
Yeah.
guess. But PDina, I know I spoke about this with Angela Levin earlier in the week, but I've got to ask you as well. This stalking and hunting, and actually, I would argue, criminal activity against Tom Bower, the author of Revenge, simply because he turned up at the Invictus Games, which he is fully within his right to do as a journalist, by the way, is just revolting. And I mean, if you look at the official post, for example, on X from the Sussex Squad podcast, they are actually encouraging the targeting of this man, encouraging the police to be called, encouraging people to film him. And let's just have a look at what went down in case you missed it. But fundamentally, Tom Bower, yes, he's a hard-charging journalist. He's also an elderly man. And again, I think this just exposes the Sussex Squad for who they really are. Watch this.
Are at Invictus.
Oh, why I'm here?
Yeah, why are you at Invictus? Sure, really? Yeah? That's why you came to see? Or is it because you know Harry and Meghan were going to be here today? Yeah. Yeah, we've read the things you've wrote about them, especially Meghan. We've seen your book, we've heard about your book. So it's very interesting that you're at Invictus because we know why you're here. So why don't you tell the truth about why you're here? You came all the way from the UK and the UK press to Invictus in Canada just because you want to see it? Nah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah. But yeah, we know.
And PDina, you posted on X about that, disgusting how brainwashed these people are for Meghan Markle. Tom Bower's book spoke truth. We live in a free country and he can go anywhere he wants to go. But it was still horrible to see, was it not?
It was really hard to watch that because, you know, like you said, he is an elderly man, and the lack of respect for a man who is a journalist who has written many books about many people, you know, it's like you don't want to wake up to the reality, the truth of the matter, because he hasn't been sued. You know, he wrote things that are truthful. And if this man is writing things about Meghan in a book, well, what does that tell you, Sussex Squad woman? That, yeah, she's just not a nice person, and you're brainwashed to believe that this man, Tom Bower, has done something wrong. You need to snap out of your delusion because this man has done nothing wrong. He's there observing. He can come and watch and do whatever he wants. If anything, the police should come and snatch your butt up for harassing him because he can write what he wants. He can do what he wants, and you should just go sit your butt down and just I guess, continue in your delusion of who Meghan really is. He put it in writing for you to see, but you don't want to wake up to the reality of what the man wrote in his book. Okay, so, you know, this woman she is delusional. She's, in my opinion, I think, I mean, I don't like to go too hard in on people like that with attacks, but it just shows you the level of just disingenuousness of these people. They are so geared to just taking up for her regardless of what she does. You know, it's like you have to wake up to who a person really is. That is what matters. You don't follow someone blindly just because. I guess if you're being paid, you do. I mean, that's what they're saying, that they're being paid. So, you know, if someone that you admire is not doing good things, you read in a book or you understand this man has written some truths and that he has not been sued, then that should give you a moment to recognize, okay, wait a minute, this is not good. Because guess what? If she's done these things to other people, she'll do it to you. She'll do it to you. So it just tells you everything about these people. I mean, I wish I was there because I'm the kind of person I will step in and I will say something.
Oh my goodness,
really,
exactly.
I wish they would.
PDina would be a good bodyguard of the Sussex Squad for Mr. Bower. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Look, PDina, can we just take one glorious moment again, just to relive Harry just saying, bye-bye, Meghan.
Yes.
Go down in the tube. Bye-bye.
Handles there.
No.
Okay, let me know when we're clear on 4.
And you just keep your body weight back?
Yeah, body weight back, bum up, and go. 3, 2.
No, I really don't want to do it.
Go, come on, you'll be absolutely fine.
It's okay.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. 3, 2, 1, go. Here we go.
Keep your feet up.
Feet up, feet up, feet up.
Oh, goodness me. Goodness me, you have to laugh. You have to laugh or you would cry. Thank you, PDina. Absolutely brilliant. But don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere, because there is much more from PDina on the after show on Substack. We're going to reveal why royal servants have compared Prince Harry to a character in the iconic comedy Blackadder, and so much more. www.outspoken.live. Much more PDina on Substack after the show. Greatest Britain, Union Jackass in just one moment. But first, so many of you so touched by that interview with Katie Amess. What a woman. What an incredible, incredible woman. And her dad would just be so proud of her. Lots of you have been writing in the live chat today. John Scotty Ward posted, all information should be released regarding Southport and Sir David Amess. Government officials and employees' failures should not be covered up. June Moultrie wrote, Katie, you need to be in Parliament. You're amazing. Oh my goodness, she would. Kathleen Collinson said David Amess would be so proud of his daughter. Oh, that's what I just kept thinking. He would just love it. Deborah Greening. Deborah, this is such a good point. Wasn't it Essex Police who spoke to the journalist Alison Pearson? Yes, it was. What has gone wrong in that police force? Rosalind Churcher writes, the public care deeply about these failings. We do. And I just think Katie put her finger on it when she said, what are they trying to hide? What are they afraid of? And from Ronnie, David Wood, it's disgusting that Essex Police didn't give the name of the cowards threatening Katie and her family. You're not so keen on what's going on at the Invictus Games, I'll give you that. But Lisa says, public relations, public displays of affection, PR PDA, not real, just done for PR requested by their team. I couldn't agree more. Avto wrote, Harry is either going to have the greatest redemption arc ever, or he's going to be miserable for the rest of his life. There's no middle ground. I agree. I do think that redemption arc is difficult, though. I have to be honest, because we're never going to forget the pain he put the late Queen through in her final months on Earth. And from Jenny Chilton, oh God, sorry. I'm sick of the sight or sound of Dumb and Dumber. And don't bother coming back to the UK, Harry. You are despised. I know you watched Dan's show, Todge. Jenny isn't holding back today. She's outspoken. That's what we want. As always. Okay. Union Jackass time now. Let me run through the nominees again. Karen Hankey nominated Hugo Norton-Taylor, the upper tribunal judge who overturned the decision of a lower tier immigration tribunal and decided that the family of 6 from Gaza should benefit from the resettlement scheme, allowing them to come to the UK on the basis of their Article 8 right to a family life under the European Convention on Human Rights. Kemi Badenoch, nominated by June Moultrie, because she was just terrible at PMQs today. Trust me, don't watch it. It was so bad. She was terrible. She went for this issue, the Gaza issue, but the problem is when Keir Starmer answered her directly, she was unable to pivot, and he ended up owning her, which is astonishing. And Giv Archie has nominated Dr. Upton, the transgender doctor who continues to use female changing rooms after an incident with a female nurse who objected. It's all going on at the Employment Tribunal, of course, this week. The results. In third place, just 19% of you reckon Kemi Badenoch is the Union Jackass for her PMQ's sham. 24% of you going with Dr. Upton, but 56% of you making the Gaza judge Hugo Norton-Taylor today's Union Jackass. Greatest Britain time now, though. And this was a great nomination from Big Mama Booth. I just love your name, Big Mama Booth. And I'm going to play you why this man has been named the best in the country by Outspoken today. It's Lee Anderson for this.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now, the new Health Minister has stated that it's OK for a human being to present as a llama. So what I want to know is if I have a family member who presents as a llama, suddenly becomes ill in the middle of the night, do they send for a doctor, a vet, or a straitjacket?
Mr. Speaker, I can just say to the honourable member that my honourable friend, the Minister for Public Health, believes in treating every human being with the dignity and respect they deserve, even the honourable gentleman.
Well, I'm not laughing at the comeback from Wes Streeting, but Lee Anderson absolutely deserves it. Big Mama Booth nominated Lee Anderson for making Wes squirm about llamas comedy gold, the Reform UK Chief Whip, today's greatest Briton. Okay, make sure you head over to Substack, www.outspoken.live for the after show with more from PDina. But at this stage, we're moving off YouTube and Rumble, so if you are watching there, please subscribe, hit that subscribe button, and make sure you come back tomorrow at 5 p.m. UK time, midday Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Most importantly, I promise to keep fighting for you, but I hope to see you on Substack for the after show in just a couple